Do you know what's the best thing about summers in Berlin? We don't have a beach. People go to lakes like it's a 70s slasher movie. And lakes have trees, and trees have shadow, and shadow is good for your fresh tattoo. If you live in a beautiful sunny place near the sea and you're reaching for a new piece, you don't have to wait until the fall. Don't worry, just take a plane and come here. You can have some fun during the weekend, which here lasts until Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday, then a day or two of recovery, and then boom, new tattoo. Click the link in the description below and fill in the booking form. Hola, Pato. I think this is growing on me. I kind of just wave like this a few seconds before we start, and then when I say the words, I kind of get focused and my brain activates. If I say welcome back, I don't know why I always do like this, like welcome back, and my fingers go like this. So it's slowly becoming kind of my focusing mantra. So hola, Pato it is, and at least my fingers stay under control. Welcome back. I'm in a great mood this week. It's still a little bit early to disclose more information, but I just had a great talk with a friend of mine that will remain nameless for now about potentially joining forces with me to work on this show. I don't know yet in which capacity exactly. I don't know if that turns it into a two-man show. I don't know what changes to the format we will have to do to accommodate him or his vision, but I know that this feels right, and I know that it's the right move for me moving forward. He's somehow the accidental genesis of me starting this journey. We love each other to pieces, and we're pretty rough with one another when we argue, because we don't need to walk on eggshells like that. So our arguments get pretty colorful, and we come from very different, not backgrounds, but very different understandings of what tattooing should be. So whenever we go at it, people around us are just fucking tripping. And with him and a couple people more, it was the first time that I ever even entertained the idea of potentially recording these conversations. So what we both know for sure is that moving forward, this show needs guests and needs people on, which I anyway already knew, but I'm happy that we're aligned in that regard. So I hope that that it will be able to translate the type of conversations that are maybe not necessarily about tattooing the whole time, but they are from the perspective of tattooing. We talk about everything, and tattooing just kind of stains or whatever, like flows into the conversation in a natural way, because what we eat, breathe, and work on is essentially our entire surrounding, and our entire group of friends and people that we know and things that we do and events that we go to are all tattoo related. So yeah, more on that front soon enough. Hopefully maybe I have some updates in the last episode of the season in July, and otherwise maybe some like trailers or teasers with some details throughout the summer. So these today, talking about him and thinking about how these conversations started, I think I remember the first one actually ties into not only how I started this show, but also New Fob. I had a crazy argument with him, and we did not know each other that well at the time. That must have been maybe I'd say like 3 years ago, something like this. And I was so mad, not so much because of his position or like his opinion within the conversation. I think I was mad that someone that worked where he worked, doing the job that he did, had his opinion. And I remember, like, you know, after having toyed around with the idea for a long time, that was the event that made me go like, fuck it. And I just went home and I created the account, and then the rest of pieces fell into place. So in a way, my friend is not only responsible for this show, but also accidentally for New Folk, which he is thrilled about. Like, he's I cannot tell you how happy he is that the things that I'm pushing and what I'm doing for tattooing at the end can trace back to him being an asshole about it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, New Folk is essentially a tattoo directory. So it's just a Instagram page where I share the work of tattooers, right? And the only common thread that it has is that they have to fall within this new wave of expressionism. I think slowly it's becoming much more than this, and I hope that in the future we'll have the chance to really make it be more than just an Instagram page. But for now, that's essentially what it is. I was never a huge fan of tattoo directories and reshare pages and whatnot. I think back in the day, maybe the first one that I stumbled upon was Black Workers, and that page was actually really helpful, and it helped me figure out a lot of inspiration or way of approaching different subject matters and whatnot. But it was very much based on the idea of filtering the best within that genre, right? Maybe not so much at first, because it was all about the community. Black work was kind of becoming a thing, and it was, if you were part of the community, then you would have somewhat of a space there, maybe bigger, maybe smaller, but you could be counted as part of the community. But as things progressed and black work exploded and became like a worldwide phenomenon, it became about featuring the best of the best of the best. And it was always with that high standard, and it became a game of numbers, and it became a little bit unrelatable as a beginner. Luckily, I grew with the page, but I could imagine that if you were someone new in the game, stumbling upon a page like Black Workers, instead of elevating you and giving you hopes, it would just make you feel like a piece of crap, and that there was so much left to learn to achieve those impressive pieces with super high-end photo settings. And I don't know, they lost me a little bit in that regard. So I knew in my head it was kind of that's the way you would go about it. Like Black Workers was the most legit example, but behind them a lot of hacky pages that would, you know, take money for features and that would just repost the same few tattoos, and it was all about gimmicky placements and sizes and micro tattoos and whatnot. So I didn't think much of these, and in my head I would never want to dabble into an endeavor like that. But then I came across CC Wee Wee, which was run by a friend of mine who never mentioned her name openly in the profile. So I'm not sure if she would be okay with me saying her name. So for now, she will also remain nameless. But that was all about someone's personal curation. And it was not so much about excellence. It was not so much about a genre, but it was more like I set myself a timer. I'm trying new ways of cut myself a little shorter, and usually I just have like a stopwatch going, and this week I decided to put myself a countdown, and I did not know that there was an alarm. My 10 minutes are over. But yeah, essentially CC showed me that you could have a personal approach to curating these, and that you do not have to have a common thread besides your own taste. And that I always found really interesting. I always found a little bit weird why my friend did not openly give herself credit as a curator, not so much to take the credit, but because it was crazy to know, like, oh my god, in this page, in CCWW, there's like all the cool artists, except that one girl, and she makes really cool work. Why is she never featured? And lo and behold, I discovered months and months later that she didn't feature herself because she's the curator. So I think with the idea, or with the reference of CCWW, I think I got a little bit more friendly with the idea of perhaps one day doing it, or maybe not so much that one day I would do it, but that if I would have to do it, it would definitely be that way. It was the only way that I could see myself doing it. Okay, familia, no more reading exercises. You know what time it is, I know what time it is. It's donation time. We're of course super thankful if you like, comment, subscribe, and share. No complaint there whatsoever. But we also need some money. A man has to eat. That's why we've launched a GoFundMe campaign to collect donations not only for this channel, but also to help support my other two projects, Newfop and Hiragana Studio, which are like my babies. And both of them, not one, but both of them, are non-profits that support independent tattooers. The work that I do there is pro bono, which is a really fancy way to say for free. So the cool thing about GoFundMe compared to other crowdfunding platforms is that it's not all or nothing. This means that you don't need to reach the campaign's goal to have access to the donations. So every donation that you send minus a little percentage for the platform will find its way to us and help us sustain these projects. Click the link in the description below, read a bit more about the campaign, and help us continue the good work. And then cut to after my argument with my friend, I go, fuck you. People in your position should not have that view on what tattooers are and what tattooing should be, should and should not be. Go back home. I'm angry. I set up the profile. And I have to figure out a way to somewhat of a guideline for myself. Not that I need to be, hold accountable for it, but just for me to narrow a little bit the infinite possibilities, right? So the first few things that I decide is, unlike my friend, I'm going to be really open about the fact that I'm the curator. And not only that, but I'm also, I feel an important part of the community, or the expressionist movement, or whatever you want to call it. So I need to be featured. I need to be very upfront that I'm featuring myself. So it needs to be stated that the curator has shared his own work, but my work needs to be floating around, and people need to find in a really easy way, and not like having to go into an obscure highlight and whatnot, that I'm the curator. Secondly, I think I explained this a few times, but I had a very intentional first post ever, and that was one of the pieces by Michele Servadillo. That was almost my little nod and my little tribute to his role in all these. And after that, the third thing that I knew for sure is that these would not be a page of ignorant style. There were enough of them, and I didn't feel any connection to the movement. And I think still nowadays there's people that struggle to see the difference between what I post and ignorant style. Maybe some pieces overlap, but essentially to me it's clear as day, and I can go at the speed of a lightning, just like selecting and bookmarking things and make a really quick assessment if something, sorry, I had chili for lunch and it's fucking killing me. So I can check very quickly if something fits or not into new folk. For me, the main difference and that exists between ignorant style and what I call expressionism. Maybe someone will come up with a better name, but I think is the intention. The intention is a neutral way to put it. The way I say it is the heart in it, right? If you are tattooing ironically and you like tattoos ironically, that's absolutely ignorant style. It's a way of like poking fun at tattoos and being in on the joke and not taking them too serious and whatnot. I think the people that are featured in New Folk, they take tattooing really serious, despite the fact that they are not looking after or like seeking cleanness and a super high-end execution and the best photographies and whatnot. They take themselves seriously, and they are vulnerable, and they have a way more artistic approach. I have like this little mascot for the Instagram page that I put in different settings, a little bit like Snoopy t-shirts back in the 80s or whatever, and always with like little mottos that become a little bit like the manifesto little by little of New Folk. And I have all these ones lined up that I didn't yet have the time to illustrate, but there's one that I really love, that says, if ignorant style would have a sensitive cousin, that's what we would be, right? Yes, it's true. There's a similar aesthetic sensibility. We're definitely cousins. That's what I'm trying to get at. But one comes from the world of like, tattoos are dumb. Who cares? Just get like Bart Simpson with the face backwards. And someone goes like, I want to express myself and I want to have like my hand gesture captured in that, or I want to like, and don't get me wrong, you can have sense of humor, but the minute I start seeing that you have a very rich universe within your work, that you don't have like a mainstream hacky sense of humor, but you have a very, very unique perspective on life and sense of humor, then I don't care if you put like cats with a hat doing stuff. If your cats with a hat make you take a second to I don't know, reflect on fucking life and existence and are a direct reflection of what you feel and who you are as a person and the things that move you, you're a fucking, you're a legit artist in my book, and you're exposing yourself and opening yourself for critique, for trolls to jump on your back. So I think being open and vulnerable is what makes the biggest difference. I think one day I would love to talk about my friend Laura. She goes by Bowser. Yes, internet Bowser is not a dude. And she, I think, is often mislabeled as an ignorant style tattooer when she's one of the most serious artists that I know. It's just she has a great sense of humor, and she dabbles into pop culture and meme culture, and doesn't take herself super serious. So probably she would hate that I consider her an artist, but that to me just makes her more legit as an artist, you know. But more about her another day. For me, the other important thing is that I have my personal taste, going all the way back to CC Wee Wee, this other page, that there was really someone's personal taste when it came to tattooing. That's how I started New Folk, but really soon I realized that it was the only outlet for this movement, and that if I wanted it to be representative of if I wanted it to have the full spectrum of this really interesting movement that was happening, I could not just stay in my lane and put people that had a similar sensibility to mine. I had to cover all facets of expressionism, going all the way from like your classic, you know, Pollock-esque, big brush energy type of abstract expressionism, to people that were really at the edge with ignorant style, people that were bringing that line sensibility to traditional tattooing or French criminal tattooing, people that were doing new ornamental and all these like tribal-esque resurgence, people that worked mostly in blastovers, people that had like different styles, but they would explore the textures that you get with mag drags, people that had like very classic styles, but they would not do solid blacks, but rather textured blacks. So whether it was kind of like a straightforward and pretty classic tattoo, and you would just allow yourself a chunk of that tattoo to be like gesture driven and have texture and you know, the hand motion, that was good enough for me. It could be like textbook cases of expressionism, or it could be expressionist details within other genres. All of those were valid to me, and I think I knew within the first like month or two that all of those needed to be featured, right? So then the other thing that I knew for sure was the fact that I run out of time again. Let me reset this. So the other thing that I knew for sure is that it had to have a very healthy balance between up-and-coming artists and more established ones. This whole movement is so new that when I talk about established ones, I never talk about people that have been doing it for like 20 years, but a healthy mix between people that were pioneering and people that were coming behind, right? At the end of the day, I have to never lose perspective that this is helpful for the beginners more than for the pioneers, right? It's almost like the pioneers have the moral obligation to share when they've been reposted, so that they can help elevate the platform, so that then this platform with better numbers can be used by beginners that come behind, right? So I knew for sure that although the best case scenario combines everything, style, artistic voice, technical level, really great photography, that I would not rule out a piece just because the technique was not on point, just because the photography was not done perfectly. I'm actually even keen on people not having to have had necessarily a tattoo to be featured in New Folk. I'm slowly starting to share a lot of digital concepts, and stencil experiments, or even light experiments, or like projection concepts on the body, right? Of people that perhaps they have the vision, but they don't have the audience that will give them still the chance to get that piece tattooed, and that should not prevent you from growing. So I try to give also people that perhaps have a vision, an unexecuted vision, also a platform. So I often even try to have them back to back to get the eye familiar with the idea of it feeling normal, right? The work of great tattooers should be right next to someone who is just starting and maybe doesn't even really have the voice yet, or maybe they're like too reminiscent of another tattooer or whatever, but they should have the right to grow, and with the growth, more customer base comes, and with the customer base comes more the more opportunities to test, try out new things. Then over time, it could be that they just, it's a quick cash grab, and within time, I'm always able to tell who is kind of hacky and who is really using the growth to continue growing. And based on that, I give more or less opportunities. I, of course, also have had, unfortunately, I've had the situation in which I needed to remove exposure, and I needed to essentially ban out of the platform people that abuse their success or their platform to essentially abuse people. So of course this is always a quid pro quo. You get exposure, and you get growth, and you get to be a part of this thriving community and have all this network that allows you to connect with other people in other places and get guest spots and exchange information and technique and whatnot, as long as you don't abuse it, as long as you essentially are a decent human being, as long as you don't capitalize necessarily on that success, but see it as an opportunity to continue growing. So that also ties with the idea of it being not necessarily the cleanest page, not only when it comes to the tattoos per se, or the style rather, but also the way it is presented, and how like raw and homemade some of the pictures are. I have a problem with people that just do things in an unclean way to get a little bit of shock value. I'm not really keen on sharing pictures of tattoos that have the second skin on top, or that are purposely smudged with ink, or like very clearly manufactured backgrounds in which there's like a manufactured chaos so that it looks a little bit more raw and edgy. Like fake punk is nothing that I vibe with. That I think belongs a little bit more to the world of ignorant style. But yeah, if you forgot a corner, if you forgot to wipe a corner and your photo looks a little bit dirty, or the lighting situation that you have is not perfect, but the tattoo is interesting, and especially I can see not so much the piece per se, but the artist behind them. When you're trying to achieve, you have a place at my table, right? That's another important aspect. I had the feeling that a lot of these other tattoo directories, it was all about like discovering your work, checking which is the best of your pieces, and then just going with that one, the most successful, the one that had the most likes or whatever. And I think it's very difficult. It ended up becoming a lot of pages that would have these anomalies within a tattooer's career, lightning in a bottle, and something that became viral. So essentially, it became a collection of viral tattoos, and I think that doesn't really allow you to see someone's body of work. So I knew for sure that I wanted to have people featured constantly. I'm not yet at where I would like to be in terms of the output that the page has, but if I would be able to post as much as I would like to, I think it would essentially just be a selection of your work, no matter the level within your body of work. I don't want to have the most impressive pieces in your catalog. I want, if I could, all of them. The small ones, the big ones, the super impressive ones, the super like unpretentious but kind of like solid ones, all of them belong to your body of work. So I try to make sure that there's that diversity, not only within the page, but also within the work of yours that has been featured in the page, right? So all these leads us a little bit to this idea that I was talking about, like that is essentially what it is right now, and I would like to speculate on what it could be. I know it could be much more than this. This feels like it's just a well curated Instagram page, but I think it's getting momentum, and I think is becoming really like part of a movement, and almost like the first timestamp that this is actually happening. So it would be amazing that it can evolve and grow into more things. I wanted to talk a little bit about where it could go in this same episode, but I'm absolutely out of time. I'm trying to not cross again systematically the 30 minutes mark. So I think I'm gonna save that for another day and talk a little bit more about where these could all go from here. But I thought it was important that before the end of this first season, once I've put all the important topics on the table that then we will continue to break down and expand on, sorry, the chili, Jesus Christ. I thought New Phobe was an important one. Is one of, I always call it this trifecta. You know what I'm trying to aim with this show, with my studio, and with New Phobe is all part of the same vision, and I couldn't have finished the first season without really spending an episode explaining a little bit what New Phobe is, what's my approach there, and where I hope it could potentially be headed towards. So yeah, let's call it a week. As always, if the 20, 25, I think 26 and a half of you are still following me after all these episodes, please make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment and like, share, and check a little bit the GoFundMe that we've created, where you can kick us some help. And that's it. The ending still drags. I will have to start going, adios, Pato. Fuck it. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.